Nariginde! Alright folks, how's it going? Greetings from the Hill of Beans. I think I'll put this one out as a podcast, so we'll call this an episode of Both the Cams Are In. I'll publish it audio and video. Hill of Beans, what a place. Not a breath of wind. And how often does that happen? And look, I've got my really good windjammer on, which I bought a week or so ago to try and help me with binaural sound, having a microphone on each side of my hat. So why am I doing that? Well, if you haven't been keeping up to date with what I'm doing, you won't know that I've got another channel. Well, I've actually got 4 YouTube channels, but this one is called Serenity Scotland, and I'm posting ambient content on there. I've been super inspired by a channel called Nomadic Ambient, which a friend of mine sent me a link to. There's a guy called Kyler, not Kyler from Troon, a different Kyler, and he does ambient content walking around cities with binaural microphones. So it means a microphone in each ear so that the sound hits the microphones in exactly the same way that it hits your eardrums. And that means if you wear headphones and listen back to it, it's a really immersive soundscape. It sounds like you're actually there. So with the sounds of rain coming down on an umbrella and walking around, it just sounds fantastic. So that's what I want to get into. I want to start doing more ambient content around my beautiful location on the Isle of Arran. So I've just bought myself some binaural microphones, quite expensive ones, as is my want. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to grow my channel to a stage where I can actually support myself with content. Because this particular channel here, the growth is crazy, crazy slow. And I'm fine with that, you know. I accept the fact that I'm not playing the algorithm game, I'm not pumping out content just for the sake of it. I'm trying to be playful and not worry about the numbers. I make content like this, so I can just talk about whatever I want on my channel in the hope that somebody out there gets value from it, but if no one does, I get value from making it. So I think that's a bit of a hack actually on remaining satisfied with YouTube, is not worrying about the numbers, and it's hard. I did have a good idea though about a direction to take my channel, and that's something I've talked about a bit before. It's around the idea of autism and how it links to addiction and other mental health issues, because I am, and there's no doubt about it, that I have autism. I've never had a diagnosis. 10 years ago, round about now, the anniversary I think was 2 weeks ago, and my son was diagnosed. And at the time the consultant was asking me questions about family history and stuff, and he was of the opinion that I too have autism, as did my dad before me, and it seems to be something that hits the males in the family. I also learned last week through reading a book about a thing called masking, and this book was written by Emma, forgotten her name, I'll put it down in the thingy, you can look it up. It was all about masking as an autistic person, which means basically hiding autistic traits and acting in a way that you hope is seen as normal. And as she was explaining how she deals with that, it felt like she was writing about me. It was like, oh my God. And she mentioned alcoholism as a common way that people deal with autism. She mentioned depression and anxiety as things that can result from masking, both things which I have been diagnosed with and treated for. And she mentioned the difficulty she had through life working in certain jobs. Remind you of anyone? Exactly. So it's kind of prompted me to think of my own story into alcoholism and addiction from the angle of autism and start to explore that a bit. Possibly even write a book. That may sound insane, but this is the whole notion of limiting beliefs that I've learned about through reading many books and listening to people like August Bradley, who's, I mean, you've probably heard me, you can take a drink now, in fact, drink of tea, mind you, or coffee, that's allowed as well. Soda water, Rossport Blue would be good. Rossport Blue. So, limiting self-beliefs are going to get in the way of my ever achieving anything on this channel, on any other channel, of writing books, of appearing on podcasts, of basically anything. I mean, I'm never going to be snooker world champion. I'm never going to be filling Madison Square Garden with ticket sales to come and see me play live music. So, a bit of realism. But also, I know from having listened to other people tell me that they find my stories valuable, that I have something worth sharing. And there's no reason why I can't start researching alcoholism, autism, depression, anxiety, imposter syndrome, limiting self-beliefs. It sounds a bit overwhelming right now, and that's because it is. But there's no reason why I can't start looking into these things as a way of getting well, primarily for myself, and as a way of helping other people out there. Because, you know, having read this book and seen some of the responses in the book review comments on Goodreads, I'm not the only one who felt that Emma, whatever her name is, was writing about. You know, there are lots of people out there who are masking autistic behaviours to try and appear normal, and in so doing damaging their mental health in many unseen ways, unperceived ways, and ways that make you feel more broken than ever, leading to a bit of a negative downward spiral, a negative feedback loop, which sometimes can't even be helped by listening to 9 Inch Nails. I mean, sometimes it helps, not always though. The Downward Spiral, by the way, is a particularly good record if you're feeling a bit angry with life and you're looking for some kind of relief from a songwriter who seems to express angst better than any other. Just putting it out there. So, these are my thoughts at the moment. I think that the mental health beneficial habits I'm building right now, such as coming up here, recording content, writing morning pages every day, meditating, which I'm doing with Sam Harris's app called Waking Up. All of these things are leading to my feeling that the limiting beliefs are perhaps not quite as limiting as they might otherwise be. Maybe I'm not such an imposter. Maybe I do have things that are worth sharing. So there you go. And speaking of morning pages, which I have done a lot, I know, on this channel here, I seem to mention it every time I make a video, but that's because it's such a blooming marvellous thing to do. And as it is a marvellous thing to do, I've decided in my typical kind of oversharey way to start recording myself writing my morning pages with the binaural microphones in, so you get to hear the ambient sounds from my porch, which honestly, the sound of birdsong first thing in the morning, sublime. So as a way of putting out a half-hour video of just pure relaxation, ambience, writing with fountain pens, you'll get the sound of the nib on the paper, you'll see the ink flow, you'll see the thoughts as they come out my head and take me to places where quite often I had no idea I was going to go to. If that's something that you think would be useful, I don't know, have a wee look. I'll put the thing up here, or is it up there? I never know which side to point to, because it's a binary thing and I'm no good at remembering binary things. But yeah, check out the channel. There's a morning pages experiment happening right now with my writing being recorded and going out. At the moment I think I'm on day 5, and I'm publishing them on my website as well, which is at camscampbell.com, so you can go there and you can get the photographs of the finished handwritten pages. It's a members only thing. At the moment there's no charge. You can just become a member of my sort of newsletter website and you'll get access to all these posts where you can read my morning pages at your leisure. That might become paid at some point, I don't know, because that's another thing when it comes to trying to make a living from making content. It's really hard, which is why I enjoy so much listening to people like Jack Lowe, Amanda Palmer, Jeffrey Sidoris, Sean Tucker. There, I've mentioned Jeffrey and Sean again, so hopefully I'll remember to put the little ping thing with their Twitter handles. They seem to come up a lot, and it's because their podcast, which is called Deep Natter, is so helpful to me. This week's, in fact, they were talking all about this kind of thing, about how to monetize your art. You know, Jack Lowe was mentioned as a bit of a pioneer for having created a new platform. It takes them away from the big hitters, you know, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It gives them his own platform where he acknowledges that the number of eyeballs is going to be lower, but he's not a slave to the algorithms anymore. Well, not a slave, he's not affected, you know what I mean? And Jack Lowe, I know for a fact that he was inspired a lot by Amanda Palmer, who did a TED talk all about this, and then who wrote a book called The Art of Asking, which I found to be an incredibly helpful book.
For most of human history, musicians, artists, they've been part of the community, connectors and openers, not untouchable stars. Celebrity is about a lot of people loving you from a distance, but the internet and the content that we're freely able to share on it are taking us back. It's about a few people loving you up close and about those people being enough. So a lot of people are confused by the idea of no hard sticker price. They see it as an unpredictable risk, but the things I've done, the Kickstarter, the street, the doorbell, I don't see these things as risk. I see them as trust. Now, the online tools to make the exchange as easy and as instinctive as the street, they're getting there. But the perfect tools aren't going to help us if we can't face each other and give and receive fearlessly, but more important, to ask without shame.
And it led me into Amanda's music as well, which I didn't know before. I really like it, it's really good. So, yeah, I mean, this is a man in his 50s trying to find a pathway into happiness by talking to a device on a stick with a microphone attached to his shirt collar. It seems mental, doesn't it? And it is a bit mental, I know. But it's helping me. I know I keep repeating this. I keep saying it over and over, but it's so true. You know, as I was lying in the house this afternoon watching the final of the snooker match and thinking, I've not been up the hill for a few days. I decided I was going to do it, and here we are, and here I am talking to you, which is, it's about the most helpful thing I can do for my own mental health. Getting up the hill with Clovey the Basset. Isn't she bra? and coming to some conclusions about what I want to do with my life, which is to be kind and loving to myself, to other people. So if I can find a way to do that through doing this, so much the better. Come and join me on my morning pages, check one out at least and see what you think. You can also follow me as I walk around different parts of Lamlash, and I'm planning to go further afield into different parts of Arran to record ambient content. I've done one, in fact I've done two of this whole walk, the Hill of Beans. One which I published today, taking you from the bottom of the hill all the way to those logs there and all the way back, with no music, just ambient sound. And there's another one I did on the Sony camera. So that first one was on the GoPro. Second one's on the Sony camera on a gimbal, so it's nice and stabilised content. Walking just from here to at the top of the Hill of Beans to the logs and back, with some nice B-roll close-up footage of the logging machines, which I found to be really nice to look at actually. I quite enjoy looking at industrial plants and logging machines and stuff like that. And on that particular one, there is a soundtrack, so I've used some Nick Box tracks from musicbed.com, which I just love. His ambient music is mwah. So check those out as well, they're on my Serenity Scotland channel, and give it a subscribe if you wouldn't mind, because it's only got 21 subs right now and that's not going to cut it. So if we could at least get to 100, that would be amazing. Then I can get to change my custom URL so I can be at youtube.com/Serenity Scotland. That would be amazing. So go and check it out, give it a like, give it a sub, all that stuff, blah 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 blah. Thank you for watching this. If you're listening on the audio podcast, thanks for listening. You can check it out on the YouTube channel as well if you want to see some of the beautiful scenery through which I have just walked. Thanks. Speak to you again soon. Bye for now.